So this is one of my webinars, so welcome guys. As you might have noticed, I didn't put this is a get rich quick webinar. It's called Developing a Prosperity Consciousness. Now this, like any skill or building a business, takes time, and once you develop the right tools that you can use, the riches will come, and it's just giving you the right habits and going through a few things that you might not have realized to help you get to where you need to be as far as finances are caring. Right. So me and money. This is a big subject which I think a lot of people can relate to. Now, I'm going to give you in this webinar an image of money, the image that you may have that you may or may not realize, and how that image corresponds to the way you act with money. I'm also going to give you a few practical systems and steps which you can use effectively to really help you understand your money a lot more and have more money. The whole money issue plagued me for a long time, and it took me to get some training, some mentoring, and come on to webinars like this to really understand what was going on with the whole money situation. And we'll go into that a little bit later on. But what we're going to do basically is put you back into the driving seat of your own life in regards to money. Because, right, straight into this, we think in pictures. If I asked you to imagine a black cat, boom, the picture of your mind, you get a black cat, a fire engine, or your home. Now these images just flash on the screen of your mind because that's how we think. But we don't only think in pictures. Once we get an image, we also get a feeling that relates to that one image. So now that we can get an image of that ourselves, what do you see when you picture money? And how does it make you feel, more importantly? Now, is it a positive emotion, or is it a negative emotion because it's something you always want to have, something that you are always chasing, something that you are annoyed at maybe because you can't maintain enough finance in your life to support you comfortably, that you might spend more than you need to? Order must prevail in your mind if you want it to materialize in your physical world. Now that's true in every sense of the word. In relationships, if you want to have a relationship, then you can have one, but a lot of people get into relationships for the wrong reasons, and they don't necessarily want to be in a relationship, but they want to be with somebody, and then obviously friction occurs. And the same thing happens with money. We are what we think about. We become what we think about. All of the great leaders throughout history agree on this, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense. If we're so worried about failure, but you're aiming for success, you're in a confused vibration, and you're not really going to move forward because you're going to be nervous about the mistakes that you might make, the anxiety, the doubt, and as a result of that, you never make that leap. Or if you make it, there's a saying as well by Emerson, who you are speaks so loud that I can't hear what you're saying. So a lot of the time, even if we're trying to do things and consciously we're saying, yes, I've got a product that I want to sell, or yes, I want to have money, if we're in a confused state of mind where our subconscious is perhaps nervous about money, or you don't want a relationship or your business, you're unsure of yourself, that's chaos. Now, in order to survive and to grow, we must have order in our mind. And we must understand that we can't just work hard and work hard and work hard and push at something for it to materialize. You have to think smart about it. You have to understand the process, because if you get some friction and you push against that friction, it's only going to get harder to push and you're not actually going to get anywhere. Now, this is called the stick person. Now, this image is a very, very simple image, and it's an image of the mind, because we all have images of our black cat, our house, our fire engine, but when it comes to your mind, what image actually pops up into your mind? What do you visualize? Because a lot of people visualize the brain. But the brain's not the mind. Because the mind's a process. You know, the brain's not the mind as much as the fingernail's the mind. It makes a lot of sense. The brain is an engine, but it's not actually the mind. So I'm going to show you something that's completely transformed my life. Now, it is a very, very simple concept. It's a concept that was actually created by Dr. Thurman Fleet over 100 years ago, the concept theory. And I think all things should be simple that are great. You know, Einstein once said that everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler, because you can understand it. You know, he also said, you know, that if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. So a simple diagram of your mind, and once you have an image of your mind and how you can use it, then you understand why you do certain things and how you get the results that you're actually getting in your life. Now, this is an image of your mind here. Now, obviously, the head of the stick person is larger than the body, because the mind's where everything happens. You know, if you didn't have a mind, you wouldn't have a self, you wouldn't have you, so that's why it's big. You got these little antennae on the top of the circle. These are your sensory factors, the information almost, the signals that you're taking in from the world, our sight, our hearing, our feeling, what we feel, what we smell and what we taste. And these senses go into our conscious mind and allow us to see the world in our own way. Now you'll see the top section is split up into two. The top side is your conscious mind, where your thoughts are. This is what we're thinking about. This is where our daily routines come into play. You want to do something, so you go and do it. You're hungry, so you have something to eat. Something we're consciously aware of. Basically, what we're aware of, what we're thinking about. Now, a subconscious mind, the one below, is where our habits are stored. This is a larger part of the brain and the mind, basically. It's where all conditioning. The subconscious mind wasn't there, you wouldn't be breathing. That's a habit. Your mind is, you know, allowing the blood to flow through your system. It's allowing you to blink, to move, to everything, to breathe, to blink. Literally everything you do. That's a habit. It makes it easier for your conscious mind to think about, you know, what you want to do. You know, and without the subconscious mind, it'd be very difficult our lives, basically. And the bottom bit of the body is where our actions come from. Now, as simple as it sounds, a lot of people get caught up in this word, the results. And they let the results that they're having right now affect how they're thinking. Now, I understand how that can be an issue, but if you're focused on your results, i.e. what you're thinking about is your results that you're getting currently, and if we become what we think about, then doesn't that mean that you're going to get the same results if you keep thinking about your current results, and you're never going to grow? I was listening to Bob Proctor just the other day, and he said that he was booked once by Zurich in Australia 2 years in advance for a conference. All the hotel rooms were paid for because they knew by people's current results who would get through to the competition and win this flight and get through to the end goal. They booked the amount of rooms determined by every year people get similar results. They let the sales sheet determine the results. Now, what's important is that we should be thinking about what we want, not our current results. If you think about what you want right now, then you can create a habit which creates actions, which gets you new results. I hope that makes sense, and we'll go into that a little bit later on as well. But that's a really big concept here. Now, on the term of money, I want to suggest to you that lack and limitation can only exist when we make room for them in our minds. A prosperity consciousness knows no limitation. You know, Bruce Lee says here, if you always put a limit on everything you do, physical or anything else, it'll spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits, there are only plateaus, and you must not stay there, you must go beyond them. And that's true. You know, we all let our thinking about money or thinking about how much we can do hold us back. But there's one thing that's true in business and everything. If you want to be successful in anything, the one key thing is belief. Belief that you can actually do it and you don't sabotage yourself. And the sabotaging yourself is something we go into a lot in this webinar. Something we hold ourselves back. Now, how do you think about money? Because our conditioning controls how we see things. Now, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. Now, that makes a hell of a lot of sense, and perception, one of our higher faculties, is a very, very important thing to have. Now, I heard a story the other day when I was reading Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of an Effective Person. Now, he was on a train, and this young man got into a train. He had a few kids with him. Now, the train, before this man got on, had a nice environment. There were people sat down, somebody reading, somebody just looking out the window, a couple of people talking. Now, as soon as this man got onto the train with his kids went completely wild. They were playing, they were shouting, they were pulling people, they were taking people's newspapers off them. They were being really disruptive. Now, this man that was sat next to Stephen Covey with the father, Stephen was like, he let it go, and you let it go as you do. You don't want to be the first person to say something a lot of the time. Some people would, but some people hold back. But he got to a point where the kids were getting out of control, and he turned to the man, and I want you to imagine the same situation and what you'd be doing if kids were just running wild and annoying you and frustrating you. What would you be thinking? Can you look after your kids, or can you can you control them a little bit better so they're not, going wild and being annoying? So he turns to the man eventually and said, "Excuse me, can you look after your kids? They're disturbing everybody." Now listen to this. The man said, "Oh, I've just come back from the hospital actually, and their mother has just died. So I'm not sure how to really look after my children because I'm not sure I can look after myself right now, and I don't know if I should tell them off. I'm just in a confused state. I'm not sure what to do." Now, what a perception shift that is. You instantly feel sorry for the man. You understand why the children are doing the things they're doing. You want to maybe talk to them and play with them and, all these different emotions, but instantly your perception has switched. What if there's a ship going to the other thing? Yeah, exactly. And it's a very important thing, this, to have an open mind and understand from different perceptions. The definition of an open mind to me is being able to throw away everything you know to be right when a better idea comes along. And I think you have to have an open mind, especially when you're going through this information I'll be sharing with you. Having an open mind is, the key to success, really, because there are a lot of people with better ideas than you have, better systems, better ways of working, and if you take them on board, then you can get further. But a lot of people get set in their own ways, they get set in their own comfort zones, and they don't push themselves enough. For a person to experience permanent change in their lives, there must be a change in the cause of the results. People try and change the results by changing the behaviour. The change is generally temporary, or their behaviour causes results. It's a secondary cause. The primary cause is a paradigm or our habits, where our habits are stored. Change this and you'll begin to change the results you're getting in your life. This boils down to with money. When you're trying to start saving, you're trying to change the behaviour. I'm trying to save. So, you try and save. Something comes up that you have to pay for, and the savings might go a little bit down. After a month or 6 weeks, you kind of, you dip into your savings, you got things to pay for. You might last 6 months, you might last a year, and you might even do it completely. It's very similar to people on diets. They start it, but it's very hard to maintain. There are a few that can. But if you change the way you look at the issue, you start, instead of saying I want to save money, have a look at your money and say, well, what am I saving for? Because if you can develop a system that's going to change who you are, it'll change the way you see money. It'll change the way you react towards money. And it's a very important thing with a stick person, as I mentioned here earlier on. Change yourself on a subconscious level, because that's where your feelings are stored. And if you change the way where your feeling is, then you'll change forever. You know, I had a big experience with dieting. Now, I'd been playing around with the idea about this time last year with going vegetarian, just for my own personal health purposes. You know, I like animals, but it was mainly for health reasons. I felt a bit sluggish, and I felt like there was something missing. Now, I've tried diets before, I've tried changing, and just couldn't really stick to it. You know, everyone else obviously eats meats. Everyone's got quite a big opinion when it comes to eating meat or being on a diet. And it's not usually very positive when people do something a bit different. And I always struggled. I struggled for about 6 months getting into the whole thing and going on and off. And there was a stage around about this time where I watched a video by a personal development person. He happened to be interviewing a person who's a doctor, Dr. Brian Clement, who's a person that works at Hippocrates Institute in America, who they live off like a raw food diet and heal people through food. You know, Hippocrates is famous for saying, let thy food be thy medicine. So they created an institute to help people who are incredibly sick heal through medicine, and they've had thousands and thousands of people who'd been given weeks or hours to live at times and brought them back to health through food. Now, as I listened to this information, it changed the way I thought about food completely, and it changed my relationship with food. And from that second, I was raw vegan, and it wasn't difficult to stick to it. It wasn't difficult to maintain it because I knew what I was doing, I knew why I was doing it and what it was going to do for me. And ever since then, I haven't necessarily stuck to the raw vegan, but as far as food's being concerned, I definitely don't have an issue sticking to vegetarianism. And I'd say 80% of the food I do eat is vegan. So that's just a change from myself. Just by I changed who I was and how I related to the subject. Instead of just trying to change the action I was doing, I changed who I was in relation to what I was trying to get. Now we should start to understand how we're really operating, and you know, programming that we have in our minds as well. You know, our thoughts can create our results. We shouldn't allow our results compared to our thinking, because that's when we're just going to get repetitive results day in, day out. To get new results, we need to have new thinking, which creates new habits, new actions, and new results. And that's why I say, you know, don't beat yourself up if your current results aren't what you want. It's a reflection of your past conditioning and your environment. And what you focus on, you give energy to. If you focus on what you want, and we're leading up to some good stuff now actually, if you focus on what you want, and in a good, positive way, you draw yourself towards it. But what are some relationships you've got with money? What do you think about when it comes to money? Now, I was brought up I'm from Hull originally in Yorkshire, not in a particularly well-off family. You know, we lived on benefits quite a lot as a child. You know, a single mum, a council estate, in probably the roughest area of Hull. And Hull's not a very prestigious place to live as it is. And we got by, but as a result of my environment, I'd certain paradigms and conditioning when it came to money. You know, I knew it was scarce, so I appreciated what I had, and I didn't try and push too much. I knew that money didn't grow on trees, because that's what I was told. Money doesn't grow on trees. You know, some people say, you know, money is the root of all evil, so that gets up in there as well. Having a lot of money, I kind of related to be a bad person, because we didn't have a lot of money and we were good people. It sounds silly now, but a lot of these things continue through our lives. You know, what do you think I am? Made of money. Now, these sort of thinking you might not be aware of it on a conscious level, but even when you look at the films, Mr. Burns out of The Simpsons, bad guy, lots of money, which made him a bad guy. 101 Dalmatians, remember that when I was a child. Cruella de Vil, she was a bad person, and she had lots of money. A lot of these films, they relate to bad people who got lots of money. Scrooge, from A Christmas Carol. I've got here a quote from Elle Nightingale. Our results in life will always be a direct ratio to our service, which is exactly true. We pay for what we want. But here we go with this, with me and money. And this is where the change really happened, and I started to understand that it wasn't just me. That it wasn't just what I was earning. I think a lot of us, myself included, and I assume a lot of you can relate to this, that I was always in a job and I always wanted to get paid more money. I wanted to, get to the next career for job satisfaction, but to get more money as well, to have a better life and to have more things and be able to live more comfortably and buy nicer things and just take the pressure off a little bit, be able to pay the overdraft off, have a nice holiday, and that extra bit of money would really help me out. And being a chef, we didn't get paid a lot of money. My first job I was getting paid 12 grand a year and tax on top of that, and I was doing up to, I think a few of the weeks I'd clock up 120 hours in a week. Pretty impossible hours to do. 3 times the amount of work a lot of people do on a minimum wage. And then through, it moved up to about 16 to 18 was the most. Even at a good standard, I've worked in some of the top restaurants in the world. I've travelled to Australia and worked in a really nice restaurant, and but I still managed to spend that money. Moving from 12 grand to 16 to 18 grand, I still managed to spend it because my needs actually became more. The more money you have, the more things you got to buy. I was in a spending consciousness, you see. By the end of the month, when I had my, say, £1,000, I would have spent it because I understand that I had this money to spend. Now, the difference was when I became a freelance chef. Now, I was excited about this because I'd worked hard and I was in a position where I could earn a lot of money. And about June last year, I went to do the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, and we were doing lots of hours on a good wage. And some of the months, I'd earn £5,000, which to me is a hell of a lot of money for a month's work. And moving from 1,000 to 5,000 is a big leap. And for me, at the end of the month, when I was earning £1,000, I thought I'll spend this. But when I earned that 5,000, I was under the impression that I'd have at least 4,000 left. We'll say 3, at least a comfortable 3, if not 4,000 left, because we all like to party and have a good time. Now, that didn't actually happen. At the end of the £5,000 month, I managed to spend it with not much to show for my money. Now, how is that possible? I didn't have 5 times the amount of needs. But my relation with money said if I had it, I needed to spend it by a certain amount of time. I was using my techniques, I was using my behaviour and changing the behaviour, not changing who I was and how I thought about money. If you take money and think of it as a tool that you need to survive and to use, then you can start changing things. But if you're in a spending consciousness where you have your money and you get it in and you spend it, it's a system. A washing machine's a system. You put clothes in, you put your washing powder in, it spins and it comes out and you can put it on the washing line. It's a system that works. You need to set yourself a system up mentally for money. Because if you don't, it'll start to control you. And it's controlled me for a long time. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that situation. Just give me a yes on the chat box if you feel that money has controlled you at some point in your life. Yeah, fantastic. Cheers. Cheers, Sean, Marie. That 44% of people that win the lottery within 5 years, that's 40 for almost half of the people that win the lottery spend its entirety within 5 years. Now, how is that possible? Because they're in a spending consciousness. You're starting to understand now that you need to start looking how you look at money, not just what you can do with it and how how much more you need. Because however much, if your mentality is I need more money, guess what happens when you get more money? Your mentality is still going to be I need more money. And it is a very much internal thing, this. But you need to move from a spending consciousness into a saving consciousness if you want to save. Or you've got to be careful you don't fall into an overspending consciousness where you start dipping into your overdraft, getting your credit cards out, and then it's a dangerous place to be. You know, it's an interesting place. But here we go with an interesting question. How would you feel announcing your wealth? Your intention is to build great wealth to a room full of your greatest friends and your closest friends and family. Because that's a key question. And exactly, but would you feel comfortable saying that? Because if you wouldn't feel comfortable having wealth, in like you saying, yeah, I'm going to get a lot of wealth, that's not a problem. If you said that, that means you're comfortable with the idea of money. Because guess what rich people feel when it comes to money? People that stay rich anyway, they feel comfortable with money. Anything that we feel negatively about, something like people you don't like, programs you don't like on television, or things that you don't like doing, maybe going to the gym, you don't like going to the gym, so you avoid it. We avoid negative things. Now, if we're thinking negatively when it comes to money, you're going to want to avoid it. Maybe not at a conscious level. All you'll be thinking in your mind is, I need some more money, I need some more money. But on a physical level, on a feeling level, you're going to be feeling, God, I really need this, but I'm upset when it comes to money. Like, it makes me feel bad thinking about money. When I get a bill through the door, oh God, I've got to pay something else. A lot of these negative feelings come to money, and we push away what we don't want. We push away negativity in our lives naturally. So you need to have a confidence, you need to imagine yourself and build a relationship with money before you even get it. And that goes back to the whole stick person. Letting your current results determine your present thinking. You got to have the mentality that you can have money, that you've got a lot of money and you're comfortable getting it. And then your thinking will determine your habits with money and the way you feel about money, which in turn will affect your actions, which in turn will change your results. Wealthy people who stay wealthy are confident doing this because they are wealthy. But the mindset comes first. They didn't just wake up wealthy. Some of them did, but a lot of them didn't, especially the ones that stay wealthy. There we go. To change our results, you need to change our actions. To change your actions, you need to change your thinking. Your mind responds the strongest when you attach emotion to things. Happy, confident thoughts about money, or worried, anxious thoughts when it comes to money. If you're having a hard time believing this, look at your current results. Now, they're a result of your past thinking. So if you want the same ones, keep thinking the same things. Just like Bruce Lee once said when he used to get the celebrities come to him and ask him for training. He'd bring them into a room, he'd go over a few moves with them. He'd get a feel for them, where they're at with the martial arts. And he'd bring them into another room and say, right, he'd have 2 glasses, one with water and one with cola. And they were both full. And he'd say to them, if you want to learn, this is my knowledge, which is the water, which I can teach you. But this glass over here with the cola in is your knowledge, all the things that you know. Now, I can't give you any of my knowledge because your glass is too full. But if you're willing to get rid of some of your past conditioning, your past thoughts, and get rid of the old stuff that was maybe holding you back, I can give you some of the right knowledge that you need. And that's a very good analogy of anything. You need to maybe get rid of some of the things that you think are right and how you feel about certain things to get different results. Because money is a servant. Money shouldn't make you happy. It shouldn't make you sad, really. It just is. It's just something we have that we spend in relation to our services. Money doesn't make people bad or good. It enhances who they already are, by allowing them to access more resources. And that just goes to show the people, if they want money and they get money, they'll still want it. Lottery statistic, 44%. When they got all that money, they were in a spending consciousness and they always wanted more money. So they spent all of it. It made them more of what they already were. So they spent more. They were in a spending consciousness. So when they got more, they spent more. So if I'm a coach and I get a lot of money, I'll just become a better coach, a better person. More of what I am. If I'm an angry person who really hates the idea of having a lot of money, who spends it at casinos and just doesn't like to have a lot of money, when you get money, it'll just enhance that feeling. So you probably give it away. You'll spend it all. You'll get rid of it. It enhances who you already are. It doesn't make you a different person. It's a state of mind. Do not value money for any more nor less than it's worth. It's a good servant, but a bad master. Now, a few practical tips which I've used in my own life, and it's worked well with me. Me and my girlfriend are saving up to go and live in Australia next year, so we had to really get our thinking caps on when it came to money. Especially her, because I've had a bit of work with this. She'd always spend a lot of money. She's still living at home with her parents. She had a lot of income. She called it disposable income, which already shows the sort of mentality she had. If you think of your money as disposable income, what do you think you're going to do with it? You've got to be careful of the words that you use when you relate to your money as well. She used to spend a lot of money. She had a good like £1,200 that she could have spent on anything she wanted after all the bills went out. And I thought, well, God, you need to really change. If you're going to save, and she would spend it all and she wouldn't know where it's gone. I think we can all relate to that on a certain level. But something I recommended to her, and it's worked, and she started to save, $400 or $500, and she's very comfortable saving that much money. And she's like, well, that was easy. And she's bought like a new bed as well, and she managed to save £400 comfortably from going from nothing to buying a bed and saving £400, and the bed cost about £200. She reckons she can save about £600, and that'll be fine. So I think, and one of the important things I said to her, just keep track of the money. It's quite a common thing for people to say on this sort of a webinar, but keep track of how much money you spend on a month to see what you spend your money actually on. And I think you'd be surprised, you spend a lot of money on coffees and snacks and bits in between work and meals while I was at work. And I figured out, the money I was spending on food ended up being about, £20 a day. I get a breakfast from Pret a Manger. I'd get a little lunch, a salad or a sandwich, a couple of snacks, maybe a chocolate bar in between, and then my dinner on the way home, maybe a takeout if we're treating ourselves once a week. A couple of coffees, and you're going into the 20s. Even a coffee these days costs like what, £3 something, £2.50, £3. If you get 2 coffees a day, that's £5. Over the month, that's £150. So it's interesting to see where you spend your money. And if you look back and say, okay, do I really need to have that much money? Would I just be better off spending £60 on food for the week and then making food and bringing it in and having a really nice meal to eat that I want to eat instead of a stale Greggs pasty with a mince pie warmed up as well in the microwave? So keep track of your money for the month and just see what you spend your money on. And that might give you a conscious awareness of where your money's actually going. And that's the first step, the consciousness. Figure out, there's another one here. So get your money. So you got your full wage that you get paid on payday. Figure out all your essential outgoings that you have to pay out, or you'll get in trouble, or the lights will go out. all your rent, your bills, your car payments, and deduct them for your wages. So you've taken out all your essential outgoings that you need, and then deduct that from your wages. Now, whatever that number is that you're left with, divide that into 4. Now that's how much you could spend in a week. Now if you think, like Hares, like Sophie said, how much would you be comfortable with in a week? Would you be comfortable having, you know, £100 a week to spend on? You know, for food, going out on the weekend if you want to see your friends, you know, going out for a meal. Is that enough money to survive on and to make you feel comfortable? Or could it be 150? Figure out a number, how much money you'd be able to live on that week, and then save the rest. And if you're anything like what she was, you know, she had maybe, let's say, let's call it £1,000 just to make the numbers easier. She'd have, that'd be £250 a week she could spend on. Now she figured out, oh, that's quite a lot of money. So she said, oh, I'll have 150. Now she took that money out in cash. Because when you've got cash, you're very aware of how you're spending it. Because a lot of the time, especially with a contactless payless on your card, you just pay on your card and you forget, you lose track of what you're spending. But if you've got money, actual money, not saying you have to carry it around with you, you know, get out and leave 100 at home and then bring enough out for the day so you're not walking around with a lot of money in your pocket. Have, you know, that money, when you spend it, you're very aware. If you get down to £20 and it's Friday, you know you need to cut back. If you've got £100 and it's Saturday, you gotta have, you know, that's your money to spend, that's your allowance to spend, because the rest you've saved. And that's enough money for you to be saving. So you can either, with that extra money, you can spend it, or you can add on to the next week. In case something pops up, you know, we all have emergencies, our washing machine breaks down, or we need to get a late night Domino's, or a taxi from town. Or you can put it into your savings if that's what you want to do. And then next week you got your £150 or your £100 or whatever you feel comfortable doing. And that's what we did. I'm not sure if this is a proven thing. That's just something I guess I figured out. I might have heard it from somewhere, but that worked really well for me. Does that make sense for you guys? I tend to ramble, so if you just give me a yes to make sure that makes sense for you. Yep, cool, fantastic. That does resonate. Alright, cool. Now that's just a practical thing which I use. Now I'm not a financial advisor, but it made a lot of sense to me. And having that much money in my pocket, and I knew where I was spending it, made it a lot more easy to keep track of the money I was spending. And I kind of thought, do I really need to buy Greggs? And I thought, nah, not really. I'm okay. And I cut back and I managed to save comfortably, not enough money. Here we go. Money only enhances what you already are. If all you want is to have more money, you'll always want more money, no matter how much we have. But how can you program your mind? You know, I've said earlier on about, you know, that you got to think about money in a different way, to not have a negative feeling. But how can you do that? How can you program your mind? Because we've already got conditioning for MM25. I've got 25 years of conditioning in my mind. How can you just get up and change that? I think this is the question that's essential and why I turn to personal development, because all the answers are from within. When I figured out who I was and why I do certain things, and asking my questions of what do I spend my money on? Is it essential? You know, why do I have this relationship with money, with myself even? You know, my relationships have grown, my confidence has grown from looking within and asking the different questions. So maybe ask the questions that you relate to money. Another thing which I use, not just with money, but with everything, affirmations. If you start telling you something that you don't believe, eventually you're going to believe it. You know, Muhammad Ali, I was speaking to Sean earlier on the call, about Muhammad Ali. Now he, from, you know, I love boxing, from a very early on in his career, he had a confidence that was unshakable. Nobody could doubt him. If anyone told him you're going to lose, he just literally went over his head. He didn't believe it. He'd instilled such a confidence in himself and his abilities. He said, I'm the champion. I am the I'm the greatest of all time. And he made that his thing, and he actually was the greatest of all time, in my opinion. You know, world champion. And he definitely believed it. Yes, he had a lot of skill. Yes, he put a lot of work in. But that mentality that he was the greatest. pushed him to keep going more because he's the greatest. Obviously the greatest would keep pushing. And the same things work with money. We all get programmed by the news, by media, by what people say. So why not program yourself for prosperity? I'm a magnet for money. Prosperity is drawn towards me. I move away from poverty thinking to abundance thinking. I'm worthy of making more money. I'm open and receptive to all the wealth that life offers me. You know, money comes to me in great abundance from all areas of my life. Easily. It's one of the ones I've got. And engage your feelings when you get this. Because this is when, you know, the subconscious comes into play. And this is the key, once you subconsciously start doing something, it is very, very easy. Because it's a habit. Our minds go on autopilot. That's why when, you know, for me, when I go to the gym for the first couple of weeks, it's hard to get back into the routine. But after that couple of weeks, you're in a habit and you go and you kind of feel drawn to go there. The same thing works when it comes to money. If you start telling yourself, you know, I've got a lot of money, I'm comfortable with having lots of money, I feel brilliant with it, start imagining what you're going to spend it on, which leads me perfectly into the visualization. Visualization is huge. Imagine yourself having lots of money and feeling comfortable with it. Imagine yourself enjoying paying your bills. Sounds like a funny thing to say, but your bills are essential. Imagine if you didn't have a phone. You wouldn't be able to get in contact with people. If you didn't have electricity. If you didn't have rent, you know, you wouldn't have a house to live in. You gotta be grateful for what you've got in your life as well. You know, grateful for the services that you're actually getting offered. Because we wouldn't pay for them if we didn't need them. So it's a good thing to have. You know, it's a good. If you start linking a lot of positivity and visualizing your life, you know, having lots of money and getting comfortable with the idea, really spending maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the night time before you go to bed. Great time to do, you know, condition your mind, because that's when you go to sleep, you'll be thinking about it. Sit down and think, yes, I'm a wealth magnet. Money comes to me from all different areas. I love having money. It makes me feel so comfortable. I'm so confident now that I've got money. I can buy whatever I want, and you know, it's not an issue for me anymore, and it just makes me feel fantastic. I feel in control of my life. Visualizations works for, you know, all great athletes. Every athlete uses this, gymnasts especially, footballers. You visualize what you want, and you program your mind into this. You know, there's an American gymnast I read about a while ago. He visualized his routine day in, day out, day in for years. And when it came down to the competition, it was a formality for him. He'd done the work on the mat, but mentally he was prepared as well. So it just happened to come to him, and it worked. Because he was ready for it. And the mental game is one of the biggest games you can play. It's where you avoid all the anxiety and the doubt and the fear. Meditation is something that I use. It could be something effective for you, and it just calms your mind. And it's also a sense for me of the control of your body. I realised that just sitting still and trying to relax and remove thoughts is a very difficult thing for me. My mind runs a million miles an hour, which is why I talk quite fast. Hopefully you're all keeping up. But that's just me, so sitting down and not thinking about anything is a struggle. But having that control over your mind to let you know that you're in control, not your thoughts, that you're in control, that you can switch off. Be in control of your body, because it's quite difficult just to sit with no backrest for 15 minutes to 30 minutes, however long you want to meditate for, even 5 minutes. And then to release your thoughts is a really powerful thing for me, just to feel in control of my life. We cannot consistently do what's inconsistent with our self-image. Now, this is John Canary, my mentor, a guy I work with, and he's been a financial advisor for 40 years. And it is so true. How we see ourselves resonates so deeply. You know, it goes back to the say by Emerson, who we are speaks so loud that I can't hear what you're saying. So you got to really have a look. Now, thinking back, you know, the stick person, think about how you see money. and your thoughts are going to change your results. I've got the practical steps in there for you to use, something that I use with money. Have a different relationship when it comes to money. Now, if you guys have enjoyed this, and if you want to get in an environment that encourages you to grow, you know, if you feel like you can succeed and you want to maintain the motivation, but you struggle to sometimes, and the tasks that you're doing, we'll be doing a mastermind just in the new year. Hey Dimitri. That'll bring together people. They're going to benefit from the accountability. A strong group of people that encourage you to achieve your goals. It is something that you feel like you can really grow with. You know, following a program that John Canary has actually developed with Bob Proctor. You're welcome, Dimitri, no problem, my man. You're going to follow a program over a course of 12 weeks. Now, this program's you're going to be around people who are self-development driven. You're going to follow a program that you're going to have, which will be yours to keep. And you'll have, you know, the accountability that, yes, I've got to keep going. I'm going to keep following my goals, because me, a lot of the time, yes, I do need, I mean, I've come from a mastermind tonight with Sean, who's on the call. The mastermind keeps me on track. It keeps me thinking, oh yeah, what have I done for a success this week that I can work towards? That not only can I tell the guy because I want to grow my business, but you know, what am I going to do? What am I actually doing? It keeps me thinking about what I'm doing for myself and for my business. So I've got masterminds. I've also got personal coaching, so we can go through the same program but on a one-to-one basis. Have a call and really go deep. Now with the mastermind that me and Sean are a part of, we get a hot seat and we sit and we talk about our ideas and where we want to be and how we want to get there. And it's a really good way of just venting everything that you feel like you need to share and getting feedback and seeing things from a different perspective, which we talked about earlier on. Because having an open mind is key. There you go, Marie. I appreciate that as well, Marie. Marie has been part of one of the previous masterminds, and if any of you guys want to see somebody who's doing very well in business, it's Marie. Now she's the pinnacle of a person who's got the stick person down to a T. You know, she started a business, but her thoughts were in the perfect harmony with what she wanted to do, and as a result of that, she's literally taken off and she's been flying. Now, I don't want to take any credit for that. You know, MJ is fantastic at what she does. She's got a fantastic mindset and wants to grow. I think it just enhanced what she already had inside of her and kept her on track and kept her forward thinking and avoiding the sabotage of yourself. We can always doubt ourselves or spread ourselves too thin with different opportunities that are all successful but not necessarily where we need to be. So the personal coaching, you know, we'll have weekly calls where we just go in detail of what you've been up to and where you're going and how you want to succeed with whatever you need to succeed. The accountability, always progress orientated. Now, there are a lot of people that I work with, or I know, who are always thinking negatively, what's wrong with something? And there's always a downside. Now, we're always thinking positively, looking for successes, trying to find more successes. As well as the program that's going to be yours, that John's worked with thousands of people with. He's worked with some of the biggest companies. If you guys have heard of Prudential in the financial world, John and Bob went in and trained 16,000 of Prudential's employees. He's trained, you know, the Bank of Hong Kong, Singapore Airlines, very big names with this program and fantastic results. And I listen to it every day, and it is literally not something I've heard of before. And it's, yep, the stick person. I know you did miss that, El. I'll give you a recording of this as well, guys. So it will be yours. Anything you do miss, you can definitely come back to and refresh your mind. If you've got any questions, send me a message. Or if you do want any coaching or any mentoring, or if you just want to talk about your business and how you think you can maybe benefit from something like this, send me a message on Facebook, via my mobile, which is on here, or email me. Now, have any of you guys got any questions about anything before we shoot off? I've got a couple of minutes. How have you found tonight? How about you, Sean? How did you get on with the webinar? It's good to go over things again. Fantastic. But no, I do hope, I know you guys are obviously quite busy, I do hope you got some value for this. I've got to shoot off because I've got a client call in a few minutes, but I hope you got some value from this and taking money from a different perspective and really understanding the consciousness that you've got with money. It's a very important thing to have. Now, refresh what I read up and gone through personal coach. Yeah, fantastic. It's good. I appreciate that, Sandra. But until then, guys, have a fantastic night, and it's been great talking to you all. And I look forward to seeing and speaking to you all very soon. Okay, thank you.